Hot welcome back to Spectacle Island for episode 25 with me, Mr. Sealy P. 7:44 in the morning. I've cleaned out all the animals. They don't need any feed or anything at the moment. They're all looking pretty good. Everything's in the green. Harvest over to the right. I'm going to be putting canola in fields 1 to 5. I've also made another decision today. I wasn't going to. Oh, I left the other seeder here. It gives me a chance to use the new one because I can do canola with this one, so we should be fine. I did those TMR sandwiches that Bear and Papa had sort of showed me pictures of and said that he does it all the time, and I thought, yeah, it's a cracking idea. I like the idea of that, so I had a go. But I didn't do the full ones because I had silage on hand. Now I am thinking that when I do my corn harvest on field 9, 10, 11. That's all going to be silage, which I can either sell or keep some or whatever I'm going to do with it. I haven't baled all of field 7 at the moment because I only needed about 40. I think I've got 44 straw bales. So I only needed 44 hay. I think I ended up with 50 or 49 because, like I said, one of them was, I can't remember now what I said. One of them is straw. So I've got one straw, the rest are hay. So I've got enough. Right, canola, let's get cracking with it. So while I'm explaining. So what I thought I was going to do with the rest, I'm going to get the mower going, the triple mower set up with the baler directly on the back. I'm going to do the rest grass bales, and anywhere else I can cut grass to get to around 44 as well. And then I'm going to bale wrap them. So I'm going to have all 3 bale types, and I'm going to do the proper TMR sandwiches. So it will just be a case of grabbing the 3, dropping them in, grabbing the 3, dropping them in. I can make total mixed ration like that. Once the seeding's done, I haven't got any other jobs specifically to do at the moment because crops are growing until the silage harvest. Animals all doing okay. Oh, manure. I didn't bring down the manure to put on the trees. Manure and water, I need to check on those. So what I'll probably do is when I get to a point where I can set a worker off on one of these fields, I'll get on to getting them, making sure the pear trees are filled and everything's looking good there. This is a nice bit of kit. 12 metres. I suppose it's that weird thing again that I've mentioned before. I know I have, but that thing of watching Clarkson's farm, and a lot of the UK farmers, a lot of the guys that I follow, that concept of going bigger is an okay concept in a game like this, and it's an okay concept if you're running farms like Mike Mitchell out in Saskatchewan and places like that where you've got thousands of acres, thousands and thousands of acres, and you're running like 8, 9, 10 harvesters and 6 massive seeders and that kind of thing. Then yeah, absolutely, that's what you're working up to. You get enough crop coming in, you've got enough revenue coming in that you're making enough money to be able to buy gear like that. Most, and again, it's generalisation, most UK-based farmers, there are some big farm estates, but the idea of once you get to a certain size, with the tractor you've got that's able to pull whatever it is you're pulling, the idea of right, the next step is let's get a bigger tractor. Most guys, it's like, well, no, I'm quite happy with what I've got. I get all my fields done at the time I need to. I suppose it would only be if you're looking at expanding your farm, if you're going to go bigger. But I suppose once most farmers reach a point where they're happy with what they've got, it's manageable for what they want to do, why would you want to go for bigger tractors? Why would you want to go for bigger seeders? And I suppose it's that big difference here with playing the game. And also with YouTubing, I think it's that thing that I'm quite happy, more than happy, when I was on 6 Ashes, and I did it on Lipinki and a few of those maps where I've run smaller gear, even Rasvet, where I will happily just roll through the days. Once you get to a point where you've kind of established yourself, especially if you're doing a start from scratch, when you've got all the machinery you need to actually run through a season, if you're running seasons, if you're not, then whatever you want your season to be, but to run through a cycle, Have I got all the gear I need to plant or seed? Have I got all the gear I need to fertilise, whether it's muck spreading, whether it's, you know, slurry spreading, whatever it is? Have I got all the gear to do that to make sure I get my maximum yield? Have I got my ploughs and cultivators if I need them? And then it's a case of, you know, am I going to run animals? If I am I going to do all the animals? If not, what animals am I going to do? Have I got all the stuff I need to feed them? Once you reach that point, it's then, okay, what do I look at doing now? Have I got all the stuff I need to harvest everything? Once you've done all of that, I'm quite happy. I'll just roll through the gear, you know, do a bit of crop rotation maybe and move things around the fields, or like I'm doing now, put all the same crop in all the fields to hopefully get, you know, bumper crop, a good price, whatever it might be. And the thing is, well, we've got so many different crop types available, and a lot of farmers will run 1, 2 crop types, some will do 3. I mean, there are some that will do loads, I would imagine, and they'll run through those same ones year in, year out, because they've got the gear to run it. They know in their area it grows particularly well. They might also know in their area that prices are pretty good. It will fluctuate from year to year, and away you go. But obviously with the game, and also if you're YouTubing, there's that thing of, well, that's fine for me. I'll happily roll around doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. But as a viewer, it's like, well, we've seen you do this already. We've seen you use this equipment. We've seen you use this seeder. We've seen, you know. So it then becomes, well, what else can we do, you know? And there are loads of other things in game. Like I said, we can do fruit trees. We can do greenhouses. We can, you know, there's the pellet making. There's a whole load of other ancillary things that can be kind of thrown in, which in any other world, you know, there are companies that do the pellets. They are a pelletizing company. That's what their entire company is based upon. They will spend their entire year preparing for and making pellets, marketing and selling those pellets to farmers that need pellets. That's their job. But if I just came on and did a Let's Play where I'm going to run a pelletizing company and that's all I'm going to do, people would get bored of watching it. So it's that strange thing that whilst we can replicate life to a degree on here, I know there's always going to be that argument of simulator or game, you know. But if you want to go as close to simulation as you want, you can. To a degree, there are still elements. I know people will still argue there's things like the seed, you know, you just go and buy seed and you can do any seeding with that. And a lot of people have argued for quite a while, well, why don't we have different seed types? So when you go and buy your seed, you are buying a seed for corn, you're buying a seed for, you know, yeah, that makes perfect sense, you know. And as I always do, I've kind of lost my thread as to why I kind of, oh yeah, it was just about the sort of the repetition of things that I don't, it doesn't bother me. I'm quite happy to, because for me this game has always been about relaxing. It's always been about just enjoying the actual what it is you're doing. You know, again, it harks back to, you know, to when I was a kid playing with Britain's toys as a, you know, a carpet farmer, and my dad working for a print company, bringing home copies of Farmers Weekly and looking for those as a kid at all this gear, and, you know, thinking, oh, it's so cool. And then you get a game that comes out, and as an adult, it's like, this is everything I wanted to do as a kid, you know, all the elements of it, the vehicles, and, oh yeah, it was about scaling up, wasn't it? I'm saying about using this, you know, yeah. That, you know, for most people, they'll get to a certain size of equipment and they will stick to that. And if it means they'll go out and they'll spend 5-6 hours on one field, that's what they'll do. You know, it's not, as long as they can get all their stuff done. If obviously you're getting to the end of planting season and you're nowhere near done with all your fields, you've then got to look at, right, how do we speed this process up? What are we doing wrong? Do we need more hours on the field? Do we need a bigger tractor? Do we need a bigger planter or seeder? Do we need more people, so when I'm sleeping I've got someone else that's out there doing it? You know, how do we get all this stuff in the ground more effectively and more efficiently? That would be your guide. And if you then decide, you know what we're going to do, let's expand the farm and let's rent some more acres next year, then you may look at, we need to get possibly a second seeder or planter or a larger one. But if you reach that point where you're at saturation or you have no ambition to go bigger than that, and that's, you know, why would you necessarily? If you're making a living and you're making ends meet and you don't want to overburden yourself or overstress yourself, then you sort of stick to the gear you're on. But I think there's always that thing within the game of must go bigger, must go better, must get more, must, you know. Again, you don't have to, you can play the game any way you want, but I'm just saying it's sort of, it's inherent in the thing, it's that progression of the game. And, you know, when people say that thing of, oh, I don't play Farming Simulator anymore, I completed it. What? It's not a completion game, is it? It's not one of those games, oh yeah, I completed them. I defeated all the bosses, I did all the levels. It's like, but that's not the game. You know, you may set yourself a target, and if you hit that target, you think, okay, right, now I'm going to move on to a different map. I want a different challenge. I want a different sort of landscape. I'm going to use different sort of machinery, and you may set yourself new parameters. I missed another bit again. Too busy yapping. Now, a couple of these fields are going to need fertilising again, and I'm just going to double check which ones those are, because I've forgotten. So, oh no, 2's all right, 3's all right. It's 1 and 4. They're going to need it. Okay. So anyway, yeah. Now, when I was saying before about getting bigger seeders or planters, when I did the corn planting yesterday's episode, it didn't take as long as I thought. And especially if you get to a point where you set a worker off and you go off and do other jobs, before you know it, you get so caught up in doing other things, and it suddenly comes up, you know, workers completed their task. You're like, what? Okay, that's fantastic. Let's fold that away, go through the gap. Let's get field 1 done. I don't know why I started with field 2. I suppose because I drove out that way and it was kind of opposite. Is this tractor overkill for this seeder? Yeah, probably. But again, for 100 grand for a over 500 horsepower tractor, oh, mind the fence. Oh, that'll be all right. So, yeah, what I'll do now, I'm going to get the worker into a position where it's good to go, and I'm going to then make sure I've got manure under trees. And then I'm going to look at the bale situation. I think I need to collect all the hay bales up. So today's going to be a kind of a bit more of a baling situation. I'm going to get those all up and neatly put into the yard. And then I'm going to do square bale silage bales. So I'll make the grass bales first, and then we'll come in and do a square bale wrapper. I haven't done square bale wrapping for a while. Normally if I do silage bales, I'll use a baler wrapper, because I just, especially with the Vicon, like the fast bale, it's brilliant. Oh, I suppose I should have bought the plough out here, couldn't I? I could have straightened this edge up maybe. It's not going to give me a huge amount of extra field, is it? That's the other thing as well. I think you get to a point sometimes where it's obvious you've got bits of field that you can expand, that you can plough out and you can make bigger, because you've got a lot of runoff, or you've got a lot of space at the sides, or you've got 2 fields you think actually these are perfect to plough together, it's going to work really well. But sometimes you just look and think, you know what, I might as well just get to the point and just buy another field. You know, I could plough it out, I could eke myself out an extra little bit, but it's probably better off if I just buy another field. So this is all going to be part of my pig food experiment. I mean, I've done it before on different maps. I've bought pig food, I know I have, but it'll be looking at what literage of canola we get off fields 1 to 5. So here on this particular island, on fields 1 to 5, and then what amount of pig food can we buy for that? Whatever we make off that canola, what pig food can we buy with that money? Because the canola would only be one component of my pig food, but potentially it could pay for a load of pig food which could last me ages, or it might not last me ages. That's what I'm kind of looking at. And also I think it's either going to be the pig food silo, the Holger Sengstock one we're going to look at buying from, or the Quiet Hitman pallets, because I think they worked out quite good price as well. Because I'm pretty sure when I did Sussex Farms and I did that kind of, I looked at the various different pig food options to work out which was the cheapest to buy from. I don't think the Quiet Hitman pallets were a thing then. I don't think they were out. So I'll have to weigh up the pricing for those and then we'll go from there. Update on the plague. I'm feeling a bit better today, I'll be honest. But again, good days and bad days at the moment. But I'm having a good day so far. I'm still early, to be fair. It's going to be another warm one here in the UK, so we're preparing for that. I even last night, oh man, myself and Mrs. Silly P went up to bed to watch a bit of telly before going to sleep. Oh, it was like a sauna in the bedroom, and I got my phone out and started looking at aircon units. I thought I'm going to get a portable aircon unit and the whatever you need to put at the window to do it, because this is ridiculous. You know, we've had hotter years, I know, but oh, it was awful. So I don't know. We'll see. So I've done it again, haven't I? I'll see you in a minute, then talk for another 10 minutes. Isn't it weird how I've doubled the amount of animals I've got? The pigs have reproduced at quite a rate, which is nice. And I'm still nowhere near the amount, I thought like in 24 hours, the amount of manure I'd be getting from the cows would be mad. And the pigs, but I'm not getting as much as I thought I would be. Not even close. But then I suppose, I don't know, the last couple of times I've done animals, when I did one Stone Valley, I did the most I'd ever done to that point. And then when I did Eureka Farms, that was, right, let's push this because we're going a bit mad on this Let's Play. Let's do the most. I think I did over 1,000, didn't I? From Saw Stone Valley I did, was it up to just over 500, it was 530 or 540 I think I ended up with. And then Eureka was like, right, let's crack 1,000, let's do over 1,000 cows. So the amount of manure 1,000 cows was producing was insane, you know. Obviously, when you've only got 40, it's not quite, so I haven't even got 40, have I? No, because I didn't, the second load, I didn't get a full load, did I? So I'm only on, what are we on for cows? Yeah, 36. So I suppose, yeah, it's not going to be massive, is it? Let's get the lights on. So I don't think I put manure around this one at the start, did I? Go. Yeah, I don't think it was these three that didn't get any, but I'm pretty sure. So I'll stop there as long as they've got a bit each. So I think the other trees have still got some. Water, I'm not so sure about. Whoa, that's interesting. Right, at this point, let's hop out. Let's get that open. Let's have a double check, shall we? So manure fill level, I need to live on that. Water fill level's down. Could do with refilling the water on with them, but it's not horrendously down. Oh, 2,000. Why do I think it was more than that? Which means I can top that one right up. It may turn out I have got enough after all. So I can come back and water them later. It's not they're going to suddenly run out of water, and the manure, there's more manure left than I thought there would be, so that's good. It does mean those last three trees should pay me out a little bit more than they have been, because I hadn't manured them. I was also going to look at, wasn't I? I was going to go out to the imports and see about buying manure, but it seems a bit mad really, doesn't it, when I've got manure here. I suppose I shouldn't have, at the time I hadn't thought about doing fruit trees, because I think when I had all that manure on hand, and I had quite a bit, I took it all and sold it at the biogas plant because it was paying quite well, plus I got the digestate, but didn't think ahead to the fact, oh, what if you do fruit trees, or what if you need it for something else, which I didn't realise I would. Never mind, but I suppose, yeah, what I might do is I'll take one of the trailers out and I might do a bit of a test off screen. If it's not too expensive, I might just grab a load. And then I can, once I've sorted out all the, that was the other thing I needed to do as well. I think I had a couple of spare bales, straw bales. You know, I had 2 spare. I'm going to stick them in here because I think, yeah, the bale ran out while I'm up here. So I've got some bale work to do next. I'm going to go and grab, I know it seems ridiculous because I gave it back, but I'm going to lease the bale trailer again. I suppose I should just buy one, shouldn't I? But then after this point, I don't know if I'm going to do many after this. Just realised I'm round the wrong side. Oops. Sadly, I haven't had a coffee yet. Now, as it turned out, yesterday, when I was doing my episode, and I was convinced after the previous year when it always happens in the summer, always does, every time, that I'd had my fan on and the wind noise was going to be terrible. When I actually then came to edit, I couldn't make out any discernible wind noise. So it obviously wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which is brilliant. So although I did put the thing on there and the apology, and I think I put an apology in the description too, it wasn't actually a problem. Right, let's do that and that. That's them sorted for a bit longer. The one for the pigs looks like that's still okay. I've got a couple of grass bales sitting over there. Are they grass? Oh no, they were the spare hay bales. Do you remember? I'm thinking back a while now. When we first came over and the hay loft over there had some bales in the back of it that you could use, and I made that mistake of, because I'm doing 6,000 litre bales with the high density baler, I mixed them up, and the ones over there were 4,000 litre bales. So I had a couple of stacks where I had 6,000 litre bales and 4,000 litre bales mixed up, which was fine until I came to doing total mixed ration, and then it was all over the place. So the 3 4,000 litre hay bales I brought over here and just put here for the sheep. So I haven't got to worry about feeding them for a while. Those will gradually work their way through, as long as I keep cleaning out the feed area. Jeremy looks nice and happy over there, doesn't he? Living the dream. So next, yeah, let's grab the baler. Now I don't, what I'm worried about is I don't think I'm going to have enough grass on field 7 left to do what I want to do. I don't think. So it might end up being one of those kind of go around and cut everything jobs, you know. Now my New Holland and the JCB are out over by field 7. The JCB is going to come back because that's got fertiliser, and I want to fertilise. Oh, mind you, maybe not just yet, because if I cut the grass, I want to fertilise it almost immediately. But the 2 fields over here, once they're seeded, they're going to need fertilising, so I'll get it over here at some point. We'll get the fertilising done, and the whole process will roll round. It took a lot longer than I thought it would, in all honesty. So I'll see you over at field 7 to collect some bales. We'll get the hay bales back, and then we'll crack on. We're doing the grass ones, bale wrapping, and then hopefully we'll make some proper TMR sandwiches. Nearly at the docks, I decided to buy the bale trailer. It's weird, I hadn't actually looked at the price. Every time I'd gone to get the bale trailer, I'd leased it. It was $680 to lease, so it wasn't breaking the bank to lease it, but it was only 13.5 grand to buy it, or 13,350. So I'll just buy it. And I've got it then, haven't I? Don't have to worry. If I want to do any baling at any point, I've got it. Now I'm going to have to be very careful, as you saw in the last episode. The last episode I was doing baling, not the last episode, but when I made that horrible mistake of not putting it into transport position, and then it picked up bales that I'd already stacked neatly. I have to be so careful doing that. So I'll collect the loads, take them up, I'll put them neatly in the yard, then I'll move on to cutting the grass, or cutting the grass for grass bales. I'm not going to cut the grass now, because the whole time I'm collecting these bales and going backwards and forwards, it's giving it, say, more time to grow. It's obviously got to go to the next growth stage before it will grow any more. But the longer I leave it, in my head, the better it will be, but obviously it's not going to make a huge difference, is it? Isn't it weird as well? I know I've done silage harvests on loads of maps, so I suppose I've got all the rest, and it did grow a little bit overnight, so we might get some cut out of it. square, is it? There we go. Let's get going with our hay bales. Yes, I've got a bit left to do. We'll see how we go. Was that a strip there that nothing was growing, or do I imagine that? Or was that the strip between the two fields? There's a bit of a line there, isn't there? That's interesting. It is to me. Probably not to anyone else. Oh, missed a bit, look. Boom. It's funny as well. I'm terrible at doing that, aren't I? I apologise. I have got better and a bit more of a reputation, I suppose, of when I'm doing guide to videos, or I'm doing mod reviews, when I'm doing my normal Let's Plays. I will verbalise what I'm doing. I've always done that. That comes off the back of teaching, because if you're explaining a process to a person, to a class, to a group, whatever it is, you know, that process of, this is how I'm doing it, this is why I'm doing it, you know, it's all part of that learning process. I've got into the habit of doing that a lot more, but I still do processes in my head. I do it with my wife. I think we all do it. And this is a generalisation, this is not sexism, this is not, I'm not being, let's just say this is what my wife does. If this resonates with you at all, it's having a conversation in your head and then starting the conversation with the person you're with, whoever it might be, with the assumption that they've already heard that part of the conversation in your head. So they'll ask a question or say something that you're supposed to respond to, but you have no idea what the rest of that conversation was about, because that all took place behind closed doors. And I find myself, as I'm going around and doing things, I'll go, as I was saying, or you know, this happened, or that, you know, and think, oh, actually no, because you don't know that, because that was in my head. I was thinking through a process of, right, what I'll do next is this, what I'll do then is that, and then I just blurt something out. You must think, what was he talking about? The bloke's a nutter, absolute nutter. So I'm going to put some of the bales there. I might put some there. I don't know at the moment. We'll have a think. Now I've got to be careful here, because I'm going to put it into transport position. I'm going to unload bales and put them there for the time being. Thank you very much. Because what I don't want to do is drive off, accidentally go too close to any other bales and collect them by mistake. So I'll steer well clear of all the other bales. And what I'll do now is I'll get the rest of them up here, then we'll tidy them up. And then let's crack on with, it did say workers finished, so field 1 and 2 and 4 are done. Field 3's next. I am also considering buying field 6. It is a much bigger proposition, as you can see from the fields we've got already. And then looking at, I mean, that's obviously the one we've joined together, it's got corn in now, but of the fields on this island, it is the biggest one, and obviously that's got trees on it. So what I'm thinking is doing what I did before, but again, maybe off camera. I might do a little bit of a montage or a bit of a time lapse, maybe. Get the Devourer, buy the field, do a load of wood chips and store them all. Either wait for a great demand or just sell them as I go, because regardless, it's money in your pocket. It's a win-win for using the Devourer. Then I've got another field. Then I've got all the fields on this island, so that's kind of a target. My intention right from the start was I was going to get all 6 fields on this island. I just didn't know how long it would take me. And field prices aren't too bad either. I think that one's 192, which would take a big chunk of my money. But what I'm thinking about doing, I mean, I say that, buying the field, if I then cut down all the trees, I would probably make that back in selling wood chips. So it would make it a negative, you know, it would balance, it wouldn't matter at all. So I think maybe, triangle and square, there we go. Oh, I remembered one of the functions. Am I feeling okay? Now again, the auto load situation with regard to bales, you may be completely against it, you may not agree with being able to auto load bales onto a trailer, and that's fine, of course it is. I was watching a comedian the other day, I can't remember what his name was now, an American guy. Right, that straw one I'm not going to touch yet because I don't want it to cause problems. I'll come back and move that off the field. Actually, what I might do is grab it with the little skid steer load, the massive Ferguson. And it's a little bit off the back of the comedian Ricky Gervais, you know, can be and is construed as quite a racist person. Not racist, sorry, strike that. Offensive. Well, sometimes he comes across as racist, I suppose. Incredibly intelligent man, and I love him. I love him on Twitter. I love, you know, he's a very, very clever man. And comedy, wow. I mean, all the things I've watched of his, just phenomenal. He's an incredible writer and all the rest of it. But anyway, so he has always said, when he does his shows, offence is taken and not given. Now, people can go out of their way to be offensive, and again, I've probably talked about this before. Some people do go out of their way to be offensive. But then it's that same situation as, again, I probably, depends how long you've been watching my channel for. The headmistress of the school where I used to work, before she retired, and then the deputy head then took on the role, she had said about behaviour. When I first started sort of taking on full classes and teaching as a high level teaching assistant, and I was teaching and covering lessons and that kind of thing, and we were talking about behaviour management and that kind of thing, and she said there's no such thing as bad behaviour, just behaviour appropriate to the given situation. I thought, okay, that's an interesting one. So she said, well, no, you think about it. She said, yeah, there's behaviour that's appropriate for the classroom. Is that behaviour the same behaviour that's appropriate for the playground? I said, oh no, I suppose not, because on the playground they can be a lot freer and they can run around and scream and yell and do whatever. And then she said, well, you know, so then the flip, I'll add to that, what about if you're at a football match? You know, there's behaviour that's acceptable at a football match. There might be behaviour that's not acceptable at a football match. Is that sort of behaviour, is that going to be acceptable if you enter a restaurant? It's like, no. And then when you start thinking about it like that, it's like, yeah, it's a fair point, isn't it? You know, behaviour can match a situation. So in one setting it's not acceptable, in another it absolutely is. So anyway, so going back to the offence thing, offence being taken and not given. So I could say something to one person and they not find it offensive. I could say something to another person and they'd be absolutely mortally offended and horrified by what I've just said. Now, in the world we live in, and people talk about snowflakes and millennials and, you know, and people are offended by everything, and sometimes things that seem to be fairly nothing, you know, trivial, or to some people it's awful and horrendous, and how could anybody say such a thing or behave in such a way? And that level, that bar seems to have dropped hugely, hugely. So anyway, this comedian I was watching, and again, can't remember his name, it's terrible, isn't it? But he kind of took the Ricky Gervais bit a little bit further and said about, you know, because he said about his act, he said, am I offensive at times? Yes, I probably am. But he said, everybody has the right to be offended. Of course you do. You also have the right to voice your opinion about that offence, and you can absolutely say to somebody, or say out loud, I'm offended by that. But what you don't have the right is to expect anyone to do anything about it. I thought, wow, that's actually, I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's a very intelligent kind of view on it. Of course, everyone's entitled to say what they want, to a degree, and if you've offended someone, that person's entitled to be offended and can be offended. They absolutely can say, that's outrageous, I'm offended, that was awful, why would you say such a thing? But he said, you know, moving on from that, if you can't expect anything to be done about it, because it might be you are in the minority and that no one else is offended by it. So why should it change just because you are? But also, if you find it that offensive, you know then as a learning process, any part of learning is, right, I'm not going to go near that again. I'm not going to go near that person again. I'm not going to go and watch their show again. I'm certainly not going to. If you then go out of your way to then put yourself in that situation where you're going to be offended, then some of that's got to be on you, hasn't it? you think? Again, I'm not trying to be out of order. I'm not trying to be overly controversial. I'm just kind of putting it out there. It's, you know, well, I just found it quite interesting. You know, I suppose it's common sense to a degree, and it's what I suppose most people kind of know already deep down. It's just not something that gets voiced very often. And the problem is when people then do try and voice it, it doesn't always get put across as eloquently or as well. Because in the heat of a situation, if someone has been offended, I would say sometimes people aren't necessarily thinking rationally. And when an argument starts, it's probably not the best time to then start thinking along those lines. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Well, that's most of them done. I was only going to do one load, but I then carried on talking. Who knew? Next, I'm going to cut the grass, bale it, and then let's get the wrapping done. And then, like I say, before the end of it, let's get some sandwiches done. I've just realised I could have done another layer. What was I thinking? Okay. Transport position, please. Yep. It's funny that, isn't it? That all came off the back of me thinking about people being annoyed about using auto-load trailers, and not that they were offended by it, but if you've watched enough of my Let's Plays and enough of my stuff, you'll know I'm not averse to doing manual bale loading. In fact, I quite enjoy doing manual bale loading. It can be quite time consuming, but then using the right tools, it's actually not too bad at all. I quite enjoy it. But for just ease of use and speed of getting this particular job done, actually, I think earlier on in the Let's Play, didn't I load a whole load up manually? I'm sure I did, didn't I? Okay, I have swapped out the tedder on the back for just direct baling. So we are now just cutting grass, windrowing and baling. And then we'll come back and we'll wrap a little bit. This doesn't like tight curves off the back, so there's going to be some bits where I've taken some strange angles. I'm going to go back over and collect the grass later on, and I'm cutting everything I possibly can. I think I'm up to 9 bales at the moment, and the first bale was hay out the back because I had a little bit of hay left in there, which is no big deal, and I'm not sure if it's going to cut that. It's not, is it? Actually, that gives me a bit of a chance to have a bit of a turning circle, in all honesty, and then straighten back up again, hopefully. Like I say, there's going to be some bits of me to tidy. So I've only got this strip here. Hoping we'll get enough. If not, I may end up doing a few little bits here and there just to gather up as much grass as I can. I need to get about 44. That's the aim. Turn that off a second. No, not turn it off. Let's raise it. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is go over a couple of the bits I missed. Then we'll come back and wrap. Now, something I hadn't considered, and I'm hoping it's going to be okay. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Well, that's all I'm going to say. But it should be. These are 6,000 litre bales. They're high density bales. They're coming out of the high density baler. The bale wrappers, because these are a standard size, so they're not coming out as Heston bales. So I don't see any reason at all why the bale wrappers, square bale wrappers, won't wrap these. They should do, because they're a standard size. Hence the high density. I haven't tried that before. That is an assumption on my part. So fingers crossed on that. Have I missed some grass up here? Yeah, there's obviously... Here's the one downside I'm constantly finding with this particular baler. Yes, it is great. Yes, it does 6,000 litre bales. The pickup's very narrow. So even on a normal swath, it does miss stuff. And you've only got to turn even slightly off your line, and it really doesn't like it. I need to straighten up as soon as I can, but what you'll probably see as we go over, we're just going to work now. Oh yeah, didn't miss any, of course not. Right, let's crack on then.
Now, this process, I have absolutely no problem at all because I've got bale space left in the 200 bale limit. I have no problem at all carrying on like I am, of putting one straw, one hay, and then topping up with loose silage. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem making total mixed ration all loose. I've done it many times before. Pull up under a silo and just put in whatever you need required loose material to make your total mixed ration. Now obviously I'm doing 6,000 litre bales, and as I said in previous episodes, that particular feed mixer is an 18,000, which means you can do 3 6,000 litre bales, and it's one of the ones where it does split the total mixed ration into thirds, whereas most feed mixers you require more hay in the ratio. So you can still do these TMR sandwiches, however you refer to them. That's just what I've started calling them, but TMR sandwiches, of course you can do them if you're using 4,000 litre bales, and if you've got a mixer that's taking 4,000 litre bales, absolutely you can. It just means that when you do your layers of your bales to get that sandwich, you might decide you're going to do first layer straw, second layer silage bales, and then do a third and a fourth layer of both hay. That way you get your kind of quarters mix, so half it will be hay, quarter straw, quarter silage, or you can do these in just silage and hay if you're doing that mix. So yeah, you know, there are so many different ways of doing these tasks, and there's no right or wrong. There's no, you know, this is how it should be done, and you can pretty much pick and choose yourself, really. I'm just going to whiz up here. Like I say, I'm going to see some bits I've missed, I know I am, and we'll get back onto the main field, but I'm just trying to gather up as much extra as I can get my hands on now. And if we hit 44 really easily, then I haven't got to worry. Just have a quick look. We are at, alright, field 3 is almost done with seeding. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 are done. As far as soil composition goes, I've got a tiny little bit left to do there, but they're all done. Field 5, I haven't put any fertiliser on at all yet. Fertiliser, after I did the soybean. So I need to get over there, fertilise that, then seed it, and then that'll be our fields done. And everything will be good to go. And then the fertiliser will come over here, and I'll re-fertilise this at the moment because I'm doing periphery. Oh, that was what I was going to check, wasn't it? And I forgot. Let's go across to creative bale 16. Okay. Yeah, let's see some bits I missed there as well. I'll come and collect all those later on. If you take a nice gentle curve, it's not too bad. I think it's just sudden movements. It doesn't like a sudden movement. Let's raise that up. The spare hay bale I put over for the sheep here. Straw bales by the hay loft, and then I'll collect that later on. I don't need it immediately. Let's drop that down. Oh yeah, I missed an absolute load there. Look at that. Right, let's pick all that up. Then we'll wrap. Must admit, I don't know if in the real world, if there is a square baler wrapper, if they exist. I know in game we only ever seem to get round baler wrappers. Is it because they don't exist in the real world? Is there no such thing? Or I've never actually thought to look. Ooh. I've got the SW4014 square bale wrapper. I'm going around doing all the ones, there's a few around the edges I'm going to do first. What I find interesting and something that
in all the time I've been playing this, has never really crossed my mind before. I don't know why it never has, it just hasn't. To get, I only need 42 bales realistically. I think I had 44 straw bales on hand, that's why I set my head on 44. But to do them in stacks of 6, I only need 42. So as far as my grass bales go, I have done, well, I did 44. I set myself that target. It says 45, of course one of those is hay. But here's the thing, it took me far less ground to get to 45 or 44 grass bales than it did to get to 44 hay bales. If we look at the ground and look at field 7, we go across one. So that whole section there that I then went over and fertilised again, I had to cut all of that to get to 44 hay bales. I haven't done that whole middle section on here because I got to my 44. Admittedly, I did a strip there and a strip down the side there. Couple of bits, well, I think I did a run there. But it hasn't taken anywhere near as much cutting to get to that amount of bales. Again, like I said, I've never really considered it. In the hay making process, I didn't, as far as I was aware, there's no degradation, there's no loss of product in transforming the grass to hay. I thought you cut 1,000 litres, you've got 1,000 litres. It's odd. I mean, maybe there's only a tiny bit in it, but it certainly seems I haven't had to do as much work to get the same number of bales. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm imagining things. There's loads of little bits of grass dotting around the place I haven't picked up, which I think I might. It's not going to come to a full bale, but I might just go around, gather it all up. I might do it with the milling machine rather than baling it, and then all that loose could just go into one of the silos to feed the sheep or something. So my process now is going to be to do this. We'll go around, bale them all up, come and collect them, and then we'll get them up at the yards, and then I'll separate out the stacks of 6s, and yeah. It's another one of those jobs. Having talked earlier on about looking at what things have I done recently, what things have I done, what bits of equipment have I used and not used for a while. I don't remember the last time I did square bale wrapping. Like I said, I've just got into the habit of using a baler wrapper and done round bales whenever I've wanted to do silage bales. Now obviously doing silage bales, if you're new to the game, you may well be new to all of this. If you cut grass or whatever your silage clamps at the biogas plant, or if you've got cows, or anywhere you've got a bunker silo, silage clamp, for putting chaff or grass and turning it into silage, if you do it in a silo, you have to put it in loose, compact it, cover it, leave it to ferment, and then you've got your silage. If you do bale wrapping, like I'm doing now, I've got my grass bale, I wrap it, and then I've got a silage bale. There's no fermenting time between the two, unless, before anyone jumps on the comments, unless you're running seasons. If you're running seasons, then they have to ferment. The bales will still need to ferment like they would do in a silo. But in the standard game, if you want silage quickly and you don't want to wait for fermenting, you don't want to mess around in bunker silos, silage bales is the way to go, because those now, if I pick one of those up with forks or whatever, that's a silage bale. Ready to go for whatever you want to do. So, it is an alternative. That's not particularly why I've done it. I just, like I say, thought I'd do something I haven't done for a while, and it's a little bit more time consuming, I guess. I say more, it's no more time consuming than to wait for a silage clamp to ferment. So again, these machines, all these, the baler, most machinery, farm machinery, ag machinery, fascinates me with the way they operate and the way they solve a problem. When you think about what goes into making this work, it's madness. It's madness, but brilliant. So I'm in a bit of a rat battle at the moment. Not in the conventional sense of a rat battle. Trying to remember where all the bales are. I'm battling to find them all because I went round the edges. I always try if I can, and it's not always as easy. When I'm doing the bale wrapping, if I'm at a point where the bale is somewhere that is not as easily seen, this is more relevant at night, I find. I will, as it's wrapping, move to a point where you can see it easier, because unfortunately the grass bales, where you've got some of these larger bushes, that's why I just turn the lights on. If while you're baling a bale drops out and goes into one of the bushes, that's a lot harder to see. The hay's a little bit lighter, but obviously on season it's much lighter, but I worry that I'm going to miss one. There might be some across there as well. Yes, there is one, I've just seen it. So rather than when it's ready just dropping it and putting it into a bush, which isn't going to help, there it is. There you go. Kind of hidden. A little bit further in, I probably would have missed that. These bale wrappers are quite forgiving actually. So I started when I came up the hill. Like I say, there's a load of grass here I need to do. And there's one bale further up there which is the hay bale. There's another one of those things. I just went up straight over it and it comes up, this bale type's not supported, and I panicked. It's like, what? So immediately, why? Why is it not supported? Completely forgetting the first bale out of the baler was a hay bale. So, see you in a little while. Today has been another one of those days where it's taken a long time to get everything done for the video that I wanted to get done, if you know what I mean, because some of the jobs have just taken time. All the hay that I had, I said I was going to line it up. It's in its stacks of 6 ready to go. 6 of 6s. Straw was already there. The silage is all now bought up from the field. Like I said, I only needed 42, so I've got 2 spares sitting there. They can go in to make up a mix using these TMR sandwiches I've got at the moment and loose products. But what I'm going to do now is do a proper job. The proper job of it that I should have done in the first place. When I said about doing them, this is what I should have done. So all the silage bales are over there. Everything's neatly stacked. I've got 1 straw, 1 silage stack. Now I'm going to do the hay stack and then we'll make a proper set. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. Doesn't matter. Hang on a minute. I don't know. That's better. It does. I was thinking as well I need to put it round the other way, but I don't do it. It doesn't matter. It's not a load trailer. It doesn't matter what way I put it round. So what should happen now? Like a very strange Neapolitan ice cream. Very strange Neapolitan ice cream. Operating position. It should take the 6 hay. Then it will take the 6 straw. Then it will take the 6 silage. And there we have it. And like I say, because that feed mixer will take 18,000 litres and it does it in thirds, each stack of that is 1 mixer wagon. So once that's all lined out, I just come along with my forks, grab a stack of 3, drop it in there, bang, total mix ration, job done. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to put this on transport position so nothing goes horribly wrong. I'm going to put this stack alongside, hopefully where I've got there, and I'll get to those later. And then what I'll do is, as I use up the ones I've got already, I'll then move on to these stacks. And I've got plenty now lined up there to do enough stacks of these to keep me going in total mix ration for quite a while. So I shouldn't have to worry too much. Unload, I want to go that side. Don't really want to go into the wall. not quite straight, but that's okay. And then unload bales here. Back to transport position, because I don't want to go past any of the other bales and pick them up by mistake. So what I can do now, again, is where I've done... Where are we? Where I've done these in double stacks, I'll do the same here. I'll do another sandwich set like that and stack it on top. So I'll have a double stack, so I can then just take them off as I need them, as I go. Yeah, that feels strangely satisfying. You know, I know when I did it before, it was like, you know, I've got this, that's okay, drop them in, go and grab my loose, which is no problem at all. But in the back of my mind, it niggled. It was that kind of, oh, I really should have done it with the silage bales as well. So now I have. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. No, that's mod reviews. I'm losing my mind. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It's the heat. It's terribly the heat. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you're still enjoying the series. If you have, please give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.